My background is innovation policy and management. I've worked in government, universities, in industry, and I guess I could be called a lapsed economist. Having done a PhD in economic theory, it didn't take me long to discover the reality of economic organisation, and it doesn't always correspond with our theories. And it was with that in mind that I became very interested in how organisations, especially firms, reorganise, change themselves, adapt and prepare themselves for the future. And of course a very important part of that are the capabilities within the firm, and that's the purpose of our business school, to build those capabilities both in existing firms, big firms, small firms, but also new firms, the firms that our students will create for themselves. My definition of innovation is quite simple: ideas that add value. And it may be that the value is private value for commercial gain, or it might be social value, or it might be value to the planet, preferably all three. Commercialisation, which we associate with entrepreneurship, is a separate process, although related, but shouldn't be confused with innovation, and nor should invention be confused with innovation. Invention is the original idea, but it's of no value unless commercialised. Well, I think everyone is born an entrepreneur, but only a few will make it. And you have to make yourself, essentially. You have to have the determination to do so, but you also have to have the skills. And it's often said that entrepreneurs are successful because they learn from failure. The point that we try to make to the students who come into our programs here at UTS Business School, especially our new MBA in entrepreneurship, is yes, it's fine to fail, but if you have the skills that are necessary for success, why don't we do that? They're words that we fling around these days, but they're very relevant, and those are terms like resilience and agility, and really relentless determination to succeed, because you don't always succeed the first time around, and indeed you do learn as you proceed through a process of innovation, commercialisation, going into the marketplace, understanding your customers, understanding accounting systems, ultimately how to manage people, work in teams, communicate to the public, work with digital and other media. All of these are traits that you're never entirely born with. You have to acquire them, and a clever entrepreneur will look for the opportunities not only for the product but also for building capability. On the positive side, there is a recognition that as a post-mining boom economy, we do need to develop our capacity in knowledge-based goods and services. And we're beginning to do so. There is that transition taking place in our economy, and politically that's recognised across the spectrum. But where we fall short is in the coherence of our policies and the amount of investment we're prepared to do in the knowledge base of our economy. We have innovation policies spread over 13 separate federal government portfolios, 150 budget line items. We've done we'll just start that bit again. We've done 60 government reports and reviews in the last 15 years, none of which refer to each other. And this is quite a contrast to countries where they accumulate ideas and experience and apply that. So we still have a way to go. Last year's National Innovation and Science Agenda statement by the federal government was a step forward, and we've seen some state governments introduce interesting policies based on international experience, especially in the startup space, but also in fostering collaboration between industry and academia. Here in New South Wales, we still have some catching up to do, but I think the positive signs are there. We just have to take the whole area of innovation from the vision end to execution. Well, we know that within 10 years, at least the research is telling us, that half of the jobs that currently exist won't exist, or at least they won't exist in their current form. And so when we admit our students to university, we have to prepare them not only for jobs that exist, as we used to do, but jobs that don't exist. And that means providing students with boundary crossing skills in analytical and creative problem solving, in addition to specialised knowledge. It doesn't replace specialised knowledge. We still have to do a lot of work with our students in STEM, the science and technological skills, but we also have to have that much broader view of the future so that students can adapt, so that they can develop self-motivation, particularly since many of them don't necessarily want to take a job in a large corporate. They may want to create their own jobs. They may want to create their own ventures. And even if they do enter a large corporate these days, the corporate itself won't necessarily want simply managerial skills. They want an entrepreneurial mindset in order that their organisations are disrupted from within rather than from without. The same applies to us at a university. We need to disrupt from within because if we don't, could we be replaced by digital media? In fact, I doubt that, because the university experience, the face-to-face experience, is still very important for students, but we can supplement that with digital, with online, with blended learning, with what we call flipped learning, so that we focus most of the classroom interactive experience on a student to lecturer mentoring style of relationship rather than simply an instructional relationship. And that's what we're doing at UTS. We think we're on the frontier with much of these developments, more so than other universities, but of course there are other universities that have taken their own pathways forward. We're focusing here very much on the area of innovation and entrepreneurship and those boundary crossing skills that we think will prepare students for the future. We have a new flagship MBA, the MBA in Entrepreneurship, the only MBA of its type in Australia and one of the few in the world that is in fact a very sophisticated accelerator program, and which enables students to move an idea from concept to reality and take it into the marketplace. Yes, well, we really take the A in STEAM very seriously, the arts in science, technology, engineering and maths, and we have a number of programs that address that. At the undergraduate level, we have something called the Bachelor of Creative Intelligence and Innovation, which is a double degree that is added onto your specialised degree and enables students to get that wider view of whatever occupation or positioning in the labour market that they wish to develop. And it really is a program that gives students a creative experience which enables them to think very differently about the future, in addition to their specialised knowledge. And at master's level we have a number of programs, including our Masters of Animation with Animal Logic, which connect design, engineering and business in one program, so that students develop digital capability along with the ability to be creative in an artistic way. Well, this is a really important issue for Australia, especially as we're moving into that post-mining boom phase. How do we get our large organisations to become more innovative, less risk averse perhaps, but within a framework that enables them to succeed not just in a local market but in global markets, because our economy, let's face it, is characterised by a high degree of oligopoly and a branch office mentality among international subsidiaries. We really have to get our act together around development of business R&D. Most of the R&D done in Australia is driven by higher education in the public sector. The corporate sector must play its role in the development of innovation. We did a study for the federal government in 2009 called Management Matters in Australia, and it was part of a global study led by the London School of Economics, and we surveyed several hundred companies in Australia as part of an exercise with 16 other countries, and what it found was, well, we weren't at the bottom of the table when it came to management capability, but nor were we at the top where we need to be if we are to be an economy based on quality, design and innovation rather than simply low-cost competition. And where we fell most behind world best practice was in, among the 18 categories we measured, was in a category titled Instilling a Talent Mindset, which you can see as a proxy for innovation capability within our firms. So the message here is that a lot rests on building the capability, expertise and risk frontier of our managers and corporate boardrooms. Well, they have to come in with the mentality of innovation and change in the first place. It's very hard to reconstruct someone once they're in a senior position. It goes right back to the training that they get in their universities, even in their high schools, but certainly when they're moving up a corporate ladder in a large organisation, the training and development systems must be in place to enable them to think in an entrepreneurial way, to think in terms of the innovation of their organisation rather than business as usual. At UTS we look at it this way. We see our role as not to create companies but entrepreneurs. We're not an investment vehicle, but we do want to create venture-ready entrepreneurs, and they may be our students or they may be our academics. Certainly among our PhD programs, we are now encouraging our PhDs to participate in industry, to undertake what we call industry doctorates. This is a new program right across the Australian Technology Network of universities. We work with Data 61 on their RIBIT program, the Researchers in Business program, to enable our researchers and our students to work on ideas and problem solving in companies. But in addition to that, we encourage our students to undertake programs where they can take an idea through to a commercialisation process, whether it be our MBA in entrepreneurship or many of our other entrepreneurship subjects in the Faculty of Engineering or Science or elsewhere. Every student on the campus who wants to undertake an entrepreneurial experience, we want to provide them with the opportunity to do so, and to put them in a position where at the end of the pipeline we have curated their ideas and their potential to a point where at a pitch fest or some equivalent we can bring in venture capital, and they can then take the ideas to the next commercial stage. And similarly with our academics whose IP is sitting around in labs and corridors and in the cafes, how do we get greater interaction between those academics and the external environment? We have a commercialisation vehicle to do that.